gripped by relentless growth, the human population swells like an insatiable beast. Welcome to a chilling glimpse into an overpopulated world, a future that awaits us if we fail to confront the very crisis that threatens the very essence of mankind. As the numbers multiply, so do the challenges we face. The consequences of overpopulation loom large, casting a dark shadow over humanity's future. Resource scarcity becomes the new norm, as fresh water becomes a luxury, and hunger haunts millions. The insatiable appetite for energy cripples the environment, unleashing a cataclysmic storm of climate chaos. Cities swell to bursting point, straining under the weight of their inhabitants. Inadequate infrastructure crumbles under the weight of humanity's burdens, leaving millions trapped in poverty and despair. The public health system buckles under the strain of disease outbreaks, pushing humanity to the brink of a devastating global pandemic. The walls of our defenses begin to crumble. Amidst scarcity and desperation, societies fracture. Tensions escalate, and the seeds of unrest take root. Human suffering intensifies, breeding conflicts that threaten to consume the world. As we hurtle toward the precipice of a global catastrophe, our planet groans under the weight of overpopulation's relentless assault. The clock ticks, warning us that time is running out. In this terrifying reality of an overpopulated world, humanity stands at a crossroads. The choices we make today will determine whether we survive or perish in the storm of our own making. Join us as we delve deeper into this haunting future and explore the path we must take to secure our existence. Subscribe and stay tuned for the harrowing truth that awaits us all. The consequences of overpopulation can be severe and wide-ranging, impacting various aspects of society, the environment, and quality of life. While predicting the future is inherently uncertain, here are some potential negative outcomes that could occur if the world becomes overpopulated as we delve deeper into this haunting future and explore the path we must take to secure our existence. Subscribe and stay tuned for the harrowing truth that awaits us all. Resource scarcity. Overpopulation puts tremendous pressure on natural resources such as fresh water, food, energy, and raw materials. As demand outstrips supply, shortages can lead to increased competition, price hikes, and conflicts over limited resources. Environmental degradation. Overpopulation leads to increased pollution, deforestation, and habitat destruction. It exacerbates climate change as more people consume energy and contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. This, in turn, can lead to extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and disruptions in ecosystems. Food insecurity. The growing global population requires more food production, which can lead to intensive agriculture practices that deplete soil nutrients and degrade the environment. As a result, food shortages and malnutrition may become more prevalent. Public health challenges. Overcrowding and inadequate sanitation can foster the spread of infectious diseases. Access to healthcare may become limited, and the burden on healthcare systems can strain their ability to handle outbreaks and provide essential services. Housing shortages. Rapid population growth can lead to overcrowded cities and insufficient housing. This may result in slums, informal settlements, and homelessness, creating additional challenges for governments in ensuring basic living conditions for their citizens. Economic disparities. Overpopulation can exacerbate income inequality, as resources become more concentrated among a smaller percentage of the population. It may also lead to a surplus of labor, which can drive down wages and job opportunities, especially in developing regions. Strain on infrastructure. More people mean increased demands on infrastructure like transportation, education, and utilities. Governments may struggle to keep up with the required investment and maintenance, leading to infrastructure deficiencies. Social unrest and migration. Overpopulation can contribute to social unrest and civil conflicts, especially in regions with existing political, ethnic, or religious tensions. Additionally, as resources become scarcer, mass migration may occur, creating new challenges for destination countries. Loss of biodiversity. Overpopulation and the associated need for land expansion can lead to the destruction of natural habitats, resulting in the loss of plant and animal species, impacting ecosystems and overall biodiversity. In the shadow of an overpopulated world, the younger generation will find themselves shackled by a bleak and unforgiving reality. With limited resources and scarce opportunities, the dream of a better life fades into the abyss. Stripped of hope and driven by desperation, they resort to survival instincts they never knew they possessed. Unforgiving circumstances compel them to embrace a life of crime, turning to the darkness just to keep hunger at bay. A new breed of hardened criminals emerges from the ashes of society, their hearts calloused by the brutality of their world. Education becomes a luxury, replaced by the cruel schooling of the streets. Youth gangs rule the dark alleys, where innocence is a forgotten memory. The battle for survival leaves no room for compassion, as even the young must bear the burden of their actions. As the younger generation becomes entangled in the cycle of crime, the older generation faces a world that shows them no mercy. The concept of safety becomes a distant memory, replaced by an ever-looming sense of vulnerability. In the twilight of their lives, the elderly find themselves defenseless against the perils that surround them. With weakened bodies and frayed hope, they become the forgotten casualties of a world spinning out of control. The world that once revered wisdom and experience now disregards the old and irrelevant relics. They become targets for exploitation, their vulnerability exploited by those who have abandoned any semblance of morality. The world that once revered wisdom and experience now disregards the old and irrelevant relics. They become targets for exploitation, their vulnerability exploited by those who have abandoned any semblance of morality. This is the nightmare that awaits us if we fail to confront the dire consequences of overpopulation. A world where compassion withers, hope dissipates, and darkness consumes all that was once good and pure. This is the nightmare that awaits us if we fail to confront the dire consequences of overpopulation. A world where compassion withers, hope dissipates, and darkness consumes all that was once good and pure. As the population swells, the once mighty pillars of society buckle under the relentless weight of their responsibilities. Emergency services, tasked with safeguarding the public, struggle to respond to the countless emergencies that arise simultaneously. The men and women who once donned uniforms with pride now find themselves stretched to their limits, their energy depleted, and their spirits crushed by an unyielding tide of crises. Hospitals teeter on the brink of collapse, unable to handle the sheer volume of patients flooding through their doors. The elderly, vulnerable, and in need of care, find themselves lost amidst the chaos, their pleas for help echoing in a void of despair. Law enforcement, once a symbol of order, now battles a tide of lawlessness that threatens to engulf entire cities. Criminals run rampant, their ranks bolstered by the desperation of a generation left to fend for themselves. Police officers, weary and outnumbered, stand their ground against violent mobs and organized crime syndicates. Yet, their efforts seem futile against an ever-rising wave of unrest and lawlessness. Even the might of armies is no match for the fury of an overpopulated world. Containment of social unrest becomes a struggle that stretches resources and tests the loyalty of those tasked with maintaining peace. The foundations of society crack under the weight of overpopulation's relentless assault. Infrastructure crumbles, economies falter, and nations descend into chaos. Amidst the collapse, the older generation finds themselves trapped, vulnerable to the unforgiving reality that their world has become. For the elderly, life becomes a daily struggle for survival. Neglected and forgotten, they navigate a treacherous landscape where compassion and care have become scarce commodities. The nightmare of an overpopulated world engulfs all generations, leaving no one untouched. As the days grow darker and the shadows loom larger, humanity faces a choice: unite in the face of adversity or succumb to the horrors that await. As the grip of overpopulation tightens, the world edges ever closer to the precipice of annihilation. The dire consequences of our actions are now impossible to ignore, and the signs of an impending end are all around us. The planet's once vibrant ecosystems now lie in ruins. Rivers run dry, forests turn to ashes, and wildlife vanishes into the abyss of extinction. Nature itself cries out in agony, yet our cries for redemption fall on deaf ears. As resources dwindle, hordes of displaced souls roam the barren lands. Mass migrations, a desperate search for sanctuary, lead to conflicts that engulf entire regions in flames. Cities once teeming with life now stand as empty husks of their former glory. Civilization's achievements now lie buried under the debris of our arrogance and indifference. Society, once a tapestry of diversity, now fragments into tribes battling for survival. Violence becomes the language of the desperate, and the once united world tears itself apart at the seams. The young, molded by a world that forced them to become hardened criminals, now realize the depths of their despair. The old, forsaken and abandoned, face their twilight years in fear and anguish. Emergency services, once the lifeline of society, now lie abandoned and broken. The cries for help go unanswered, echoing in a world consumed by its own demise. Even the might of armies and law enforcement is powerless to halt the tidal wave of destruction. Their uniforms, once symbols of strength, now serve as mere reminders of the fading hope for order. As the world draws its last breaths, the truth becomes inescapable. Our failure to address the consequences of overpopulation has led us to this cataclysmic moment. In the void left by crumbling institutions and abandoned leadership, the world descends into the abyss of lawlessness. The absence of world order breeds anarchy and chaos, leaving humanity at the mercy of its darkest instincts. The thin veneer of civilization disintegrates, giving way to a lawless frontier. Unchecked violence and looting consume what remains of the old world, leaving scars that may never heal. Warlords rise from the shadows, their armies clashing in a deadly dance for dominance. In a world without order, the powerful prey on the weak, and justice becomes an abstract concept. Warlords rise from the shadows, their armies clashing in a deadly dance for dominance. In a world without order, the powerful prey on the weak, and justice becomes an abstract concept. Families, torn apart by conflict and desperation, seek refuge in a world that offers none. The boundaries of nations crumble, and borders become arbitrary lines drawn by a forgotten past. Humanity, once united by a shared vision of progress, now stands divided, fractured along lines of fear and distrust. The absence of world order fosters division, pitting brother against brother. Humanity, once united by a shared vision of progress, now stands divided, fractured along lines of fear and distrust. The absence of world order fosters division, pitting brother against brother. This is the consequence of forsaking our responsibility, the result of ignoring the warning signs that foretold this catastrophic future. As we stand on the brink of oblivion, it is not too late to alter our course. We must find our way back from the brink and forge a new world built on compassion, unity, and cooperation. Together, we can rebuild what has been lost, mend the fractures that divide us, and create a world where order and harmony reign once more. The choice is ours to make, to let this vision of a world without order become our reality, or to rise above the